Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Giuseppina, and I am an intuitive healer and holistic practitioner. And I talk about a lot of healing topics, our subconscious programming, healing from abuse, as well as my journey with learning that I'm autistic. So, welcome to my channel, and thank you for being here. So, today's topic is actually one that is something that I've been kind of harping on with a lot of people, and it's something that I talk a lot about with my clients. As you know, I have my own practice, and I see clients for spiritual counseling as well as hypnotherapy, and we do all sorts of transformational healing and offer support. And so, one of the things that I talk to my clients about is the importance of having people who are supportive, and more specifically, people who champion you, and how crucial this is for people who are healing from these traumatic, abusive environments, especially if you grew up in very unstable, unsupportive environments. This is something that is going to be necessary for you if you want to really transition to a life where you can be thriving and living your best life, I guess you can say. So, I'm going to start with a little bit of a background. Growing up in my life, it wasn't like, by standards, you would think it's stable because I had two parents. I had food on my plate, and by the obviously, I'm grateful for those things. I'm tremendously grateful for all of those things. But in terms of like the emotional support and stability that we need, especially as children when you're growing, that is something that just was not present. And so, you know, when you have this type of instability and fear and inconsistency and all these various things that kind of make you feel, like I said, unsupported, and you're not rooted in safety and in confidence and all these types of things that you need, that are like foundational blocks to help support your growth and achievement in life, and achievements and success in life and things like that. And so when you don't have those building blocks from a young age, then you start to see the gaps when you as you get older, and you see that in your school, in your academic years, in your maybe even your social life, and definitely in your relationships and workplaces and things like that. And so one of the things that is really important as you begin to heal, and you start to say no more to the things that are not for you, is that you will start to find people who do support you and champion you. And the reason this is important is because if we grew up in those type of environments where we were not supported, in fact, we received like the opposite type of anti-support, or whatever you want to call it, where people would belittle you or shame you, and everything was based on obligation, etc., then we often do not do things for ourselves. We don't have a sense of self. We don't have the confidence in ourselves to do things for ourselves. We feel guilty for it. We might feel shame for it. We also don't feel worthy of anything. Imposter syndrome is something that is very big. Most especially if you are someone who is autistic, especially if you are undiagnosed autistic and you've been masking, and you have been high masking, or as people would say high functioning, but really high masking, then you have been going through your whole life kind of playing a role or part to allow yourself to either fly under the radar, or to be successful enough that you don't get like picked out or picked apart, and just various things that are occurring in these scenarios as we're like continuing in life. And so if you are someone who is going through your spiritual awakening, your dark night of the soul, or you learned you're autistic and you're unmasking finally because you're in burnout, like as many people who are in the same boat as me, you learned You probably learned that you were autistic because you were experiencing severe burnout that you were not recovering from. So when you're going through all these transitions and really starting to, do healing work and prioritize yourself and work on changing your programming from programs that we were inputted into our brain that from other people who honestly just didn't have the capacity to deal with either us or life in general. And so we received all these little programming and little packets of data and stuff into our subconscious that are not ours to hold, that are not true, and that they're sitting there dictating how we should be and feel and things like that. And so we work on changing that, we work on healing. And so while all of that is going on, the importance of having people who champion you is probably absolutely like the highest level of importance of all the things that you're going to be doing during this time. That's going to be one of the things that you need to put at the top of your list of the things that are most important. And so that means you're going to have to remove or place very firm boundaries around the people who are not that. If you're like me, then the chances of having people who are opposite of that, who belittle you, who keep you small and under their thumb, or who shame you out of obligation or guilt or whatever it is, then you likely have an abundance of those type of people in your life. And so you're going to have like a really like huge imbalance. So even if you have one friend who champions you, it's going to get like drowned out with all the other people who are in your life, the abundance of the naysayers or the people who are going to put you down or tell you can't do it or look at you with like doubt, projecting their own doubt, shame, misgivings, or whatever onto you. And so this is the time when I like to pull the hermit card where you're going to withdraw into yourself and really just take a moment to recalibrate and to be in a position to stabilize yourself. You need to plant your roots in stable ground, and that's important. That's probably the first thing you're going to do. And so, isolating might be something that is helpful. Joining groups is something that's helpful. Joining my Calm Collective that I do once a month is something that's very helpful to do when you're going through this phase in your life. And, continuing that kind of stuff because you want to keep being in this beautiful grounded state. You want to be at a place where you can plant roots in something that feels stable within yourself. And then you start to locate the people. You will meet them once you start choosing the things in life that you align with. For me, it was when I met my friends now, my closest friends, when I started going out and doing the things that I wanted for myself. Not because I thought I had to do them, but because I wanted to. I met one of my best friends when I joined this Toronto light worker community, and we would do light work and do healing for in the planet. We do these healing meditations and send healing energy to the planet and do grid work and things like that. And this was so many years ago, and now she's like one of my best friends. I met another one of my friends when I went to my the school where I got my spiritual direction diploma from, and where I was starting out with the psychotherapy program, and where we're like amazing friends, and I'm gonna be their I guess maid of honor or when they get married. So I'm very excited about that. And yeah, I connected with the people who were like-minded souls when I started going on to like the journey of me. And so why I'm mentioning that is because when you start to align with the things that are for you, then you will meet the people who are for you, and those people will champion you. You will need people who see the light in you. You will need the people who tell you about the light in you. You need to find the people who will support you and tell you that you're great and tell you what the good things are in you, the ones that maybe you can't see yourself because you've had so many people dim that in you. So many people tell you that those things are not there. So many people just point out all the like horrible things about you that weren't really horrible, and that person was just projecting or trying to maim you and keep you down. And so finding the people who will champion you will be important. You need people who can be your pillars around you when you never had any before. This is an important thing to have that type of person. And it was something that I really sought out, I sought out when I was looking for a partner because I did not have that in my partnerships before. Like, everyone knows about my relationship and that I was in two long term abusive relationships. And my partners were not my pillars. They were not a pillar in my relationship. And what I mean by a pillar is someone who is capable of supporting you when you're going through hardship, someone that you can lean on when you cannot stand on your own, someone who pours into you and gives when you need that, and someone who can, you know, be your cheerleader and give you these pep talks and tell you the great things about you, who show you your light when those moments when you cannot see your own light and things like that. And so it's important to have that in your closest friendships but also in your partner. And like I said, I did not have that in my partners before. In fact, what I had in my friendships and partners were the opposite of that, which is what I grew up with, that same type of thing. And if this is something that you experience, you can ask me about my Changing Your Patterns hypnotherapy program, because this is exactly why I created that program with the hypnotherapy, is to change our programming, because we usually gravitate towards those people subconsciously. We're not aware of it because it's what we're used to. It's what is familiar to us. So we naturally go towards that. So I did the work to change that. And, my past experience with my partners and friendships were the opposite. Like I said, there were people who were takers. They did not give and pour into me when I needed it, but I would pour out of myself constantly, and they would just consume that. If I was needing help, they usually pulled back. So instead of being able to lean on them, I would fall because they would not be there for me to lean on. They would put me down or shame me. They wouldn't like fan my flames. They wouldn't, if there was great things happening to me, it wouldn't be like an honest and joyful like celebration and a genuine like happiness about that. There would often be things like contempt and jealousy and various like unpleasant experiences with that. And so once you're on this healing path and really wanting to change the trajectory of your life and things like that, then that means you're going to have to take an inventory of who's in your life and the ones you want in your life. And the people that you are going to keep in your life are the ones who will champion for you. You need the people who will be a voice for you, especially when you're in those moments of like dark and pause, in despair, or when, like I said, you can't see your light, when you need a moment to lean on someone. You have to find people who are going to be that for you, who are going to be those pillars for you. You need friendships, relationships, partnerships with people who are pillars for you. This is so important because unfortunately in all of my past relationships, friendships, I was always the pillar, the sole pillar. And, that is one of the ways that you will become in burnout, because you're just constantly giving of yourself and pouring out to a point where you're just like, have no more water. You can't give anymore. And so it just becomes this like completely imbalanced, I guess you can say, like the scales are completely imbalanced. And so you're always going to be on empty. You're always going to be low. You're always going to be like, and even when you're like high, it's not going to last long, because when you have these moments of low, you're just going to be giving of yourself instead of having people pouring into you. So how do you find people who champion for you? Well, part of that is, like I said, is having to remove people who are not the pillars for you, who are not championing you. You have to remove people like that or create really firm boundaries. And I know you think that that might be difficult, but boundaries are something that you can take. You can do in baby steps. You can do it with, you can practice with different types of people, because some people will be easier to put boundaries with and other people, which will be like the the head boss that you have at the castle that you need to like defeat. There's the little ones first, like in Mario, and if you play Super Mario, then you'll know that you'll have the little castles first, and then you have Bowser and the big castle. So maybe try on the little ones first before you get to the Bowser. And that's okay because you're not going to have the confidence and the ability to go after the Bowser and be like, no, I don't want you in my life. That's going to take time. It's going to take that, strengthening that muscle of that new programming that you're creating. And so take your time with that, have grace and patience with yourself, and just allow yourself to invite more of those people who champion for you. And, having support online is one of the wonderful ways that you can have that type of support, because I did not have those people in person with me, especially being as introverted as I was. Much of my friends and my pillars that I knew when I was younger were people that I met online. They were my online friendships. And so do lean into that if you can't meet people in person, because online friendships are just as valid as people that you've met on like in person. Like, believe me, I'm still friends with some of the people that I've met online from over 25 years ago, and they're some of the most incredible people ever. Some of them I've never even met yet. We've been like such close friends for over 25 years. So do find those people in your life and pour into those relationships and allow them to show up for you, because you deserve that. You deserve people to pour into you. You deserve people who tell you you're great. You deserve people who are happy for your successes. You deserve people who are not going to stress you out and just yell at you and treat you like crap and have these expectations and use you and all those types of things. You don't need people like that in your life. And after a lifetime of having people like that in my life, I definitely do not want any of those people near me. So I don't want them near you either. So, anyways, this was my video and why I I just wanted to reiterate that when you're doing all this healing work and stuff, all of that transition can be difficult, but find the people who will be your pillars. And when you start to do that, you'll notice that your growth will be more, and that when you have that type of support, it will really, really change your outlook, your ability to hold space for yourself, even because you have these people to lean on. And so it can really, I guess you can say, it'll facilitate your healing in a much more comfortable way, in a more pleasant way, and you create these really deep, lifelong connections and friendships that are like true, yeah, very, your little soul family. So if this is you and you're struggling with that stuff, know that you will find your people, and you'll get there as long as you keep moving towards the things that you want and keep saying no to the things that are not for you. And don't forget to join my Calm Collective. Like I said, I'm not having one for July, but I will resume again in August. And you can still register and sign up for that. And that's it. And if you're interested in my Hypno program, you can definitely check that out. I put information below about that. But thank you for being here. If you want to share any experiences with that, about if you've had people in your life that haven't, like, where have you had people that don't champion for you? And this is something else that happens in work too. As someone who was very like high masking at work, and oftentimes a lot of us autistic people are giving 150% without realizing that, we're on all the time and doing so much when other people are not. And we would get, I'm not sure about other people's experiences, but in my own experience, I would just be taken advantage of because I would do everything so well. And because I was obviously a perfectionist and I did everything. My ability to do things was like, you know, better than other people's. And I would happily do it because I really enjoyed it. But then I realized, like, after many years of working for this ungrateful, horrible company that I'll not support, and I shall not name them in this video, but one of the top companies in Canada, unfortunately. And I realized that they just kind of squeeze blood from a stone, and they have no interest in supporting their their staff and that we're just the bottom line to them, and they just will siphon all that out of you. They didn't care about you as a person, unfortunately, which is all these like like very corporate, like corporation type of, unfortunately, like that's capitalism for you. But so you end up giving of yourself in your workplaces, your friendships and things like that, and they just suck it dry from you, and then they discard you when you take a stand for yourself. They will discard you, and this will be with your friendships, in your partnerships, in your workplaces, and they will act like you're the one who's the problem all of a sudden. So if any of this is familiar to you and you've experienced this, and you can recognize that in your own life, yeah, drop in the comments. Let me know how you experienced that in your life, and if you've done anything to change it, or if you're interested in wanting to change that. Let me know how you feel about that and what your experience with all of that was. So I hope you found this video helpful. And as always, I appreciate you for being here. Do like and subscribe as it helps the channel. And thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.